Hello, Booktube. My name is Glenn. This is Glenn's Bookshelf, and I am going to take on the Bookaholics Anonymous Tag that a few people have done. I am responding in particular to the videos made by Steve Donahue and John over at Must Read More. So let's jump into it. Number one, what do you like about buying new books? Well, I guess I take this question to mean, why do I like buying new books relative to used books? And generally, I do like buying new books because they are in better condition, they look nicer, they smell nicer, they have that nice new book smell that lasts for a little while. They are, hopefully not marked in or damaged in any way. But obviously, with the cost of books, there are some books that I would tend to try and get used if possible. So there are some books that I would like to buy new, and I guess some books that I would prefer to buy used. But generally, I like new books for their look and their condition, but obviously for the issues of cost, if I can get used versions of some books, then I prefer to do that. Number two. How often do you buy new books? Well, I'd say on average about twice a month. I think I'm kind of on a every other week sort of schedule when I drop in at my local Barnes and Noble. Sometimes I may not buy as often as that, but I'd say generally at least once a month. To go a month without buying a new book is fairly uncommon for me, but sometimes it happens, but generally about once every other week. Number three, bookstore or online book shopping, which do you prefer? Well, I used to buy an awful lot of books online back when I first discovered Amazon and I was working. I had a job, and I was making decent money, and and the book prices were typically reduced, and I was just sort of spending money like there was no tomorrow. I was doing a lot of online book shopping. That's kind of rare today. I buy most of my books in the store, either at my local Barnes and Noble or at a thrift store. I do some online shopping. If it's a book that is I can't find at any bookstore, typically a book that is probably out of print, and just maybe it's just a little less common, I will do the online search. And I think the online search, I tend to use that for maybe when I buy religious books, Bible commentaries, things like that, that are not books you're going to walk into a normal bookstore and just find. So tend to reserve my online shopping for books that I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to find either at the library or in any bookstore. Number four, do you have a favorite bookshop? Well, I've already mentioned Barnes and Noble. There is one store that's fairly close to me. That's where I usually go. There's another Barnes and Noble that's a little bit further out. And even though it's smaller, its selection tends to be a little better. I'm not sure quite why that is, but yeah. So Barnes and Noble is my go-to bookstore for new books. There are a couple thrift shops in the area, smaller ones that I go to periodically. There are two larger thrift stores that are a little further away from me, about an hour or so, but they're very large and they have very good selections there. So I don't get there as often, maybe once every 3 or 4 months, but yeah, so those are I don't know if they're a chain or if they're just here in my state, but they're called Wonder Books. There are two places, two of these large sort of bookshops called Wonder Books that are about an hour away for me, and those are more rare trips that. And usually, if I'm sort of if there's just if there's a specific book I'm looking for, or there's an author I'm really interested in, those are good places to go. For example, when I was kind of stockpiling some Michael Connelly books over the summer, I went to one of those stores and got quite a few of his books there. So. Let's see. Number 5. Do you pre-order books? No, not anymore. I don't think I ever did it to any great degree, but that was a feature of the Amazon website that I would sometimes take advantage of. Although I don't know there was much of an advantage of pre-ordering books, but I don't think they were necessarily any cheaper than. What the cost would be after the books were already out. But short answer, no. I'm not in the habit of pre-ordering books. The next two questions, number 6 and 7, are: do you have a monthly book buying limit, and book buying bans, are they something for you? I think I'm going to kind of combine those and talk a little bit, revise and extend my remarks about these two questions and this sort of larger topic of book buying bans or book limits or anything like that. And the short answer is I do not have a monthly book buying limit, although I think I kind of take a mental note these days of about how many books I've bought, particularly if they're new books, that, if I have bought new books in the last couple of weeks, I don't have a real formal limit, but I am sort of conscious of how many new books I have purchased. In terms of book buying bans, I am participating in the Read What You Own challenge this month, and for the month of December, mostly. I think book buying bans, for me, they are good. They are a good idea with a couple of caveats. I think that for me, they kind of need to be fairly limited in time, and I'm just not going to put too long of a frame on my book buying proclivities. And I also, again, for me, I think any idea of a book buying ban or any sort of limit, I would want to allow myself some flexibility. So in my mind, the book buying bans or book limits are not meant to be some sort of absolute, do or die kind of extreme measure, something that I can't, the idea of not buying a book for a certain period of time, something I would necessarily hold myself to for some arbitrary reason. It's more helpful for me in kind of making me a little bit more intentional about my book buying. What books do I maybe want to try and get from the library? What books do I want to buy used? What books do maybe I want to download a sample from Kindle before spending money on it? Uh, I have a house full of books, and um, and so I have used this Read What You Own challenge to take another shot at reorganizing my books and getting more of a sense of what I really actually own, and thinking a bit more about what kinds of books do I really want for my collection, and what kinds of books are really books that maybe I just want to try out through borrowing from the library, or again, reading a sample on Kindle, that sort of thing. So just to kind of sum it up, I don't have any real hard and fast book buying limits. I do use book buying bans as temporary measures to kind of help discipline, my book buying, to kind of make me a little more intentional and a little more reflective about what books I want to buy now, since I do have such a rather large collection. And so I think the idea of limits and bans can be appropriate in sort of relatively short time frames and with some flexibility, but I do think for me, they have some value. Let's see, number 8. How big is your wish list? Not very big, in truth. I've got about 150 books on my Audible basket, but that's just really most of those are not books that I'm really just dying to go out and read or listen to. They're just sort of there, so I have something to draw from when I'm done listening to whatever I'm listening to currently. In terms of my my physical book wish list, that's pretty small. I've got, the last time I looked, I think I had 46 books in my saved section of Amazon, but a lot of those are really, some of those are Bible commentaries that if the price gets reduced or something like that, I might go out and get it. I think there really only are about maybe 3 or 4 books on my wish list that I'm just not refraining from buying right now. So there was a book that had kind of moved to the top of my wish list during Dr. November, and that was the Len Deighton series, the trilogy, the Berlin Game, I think it's Mexico Match, or maybe it's Mexico Set and London Match, or Game Set Match. That's sort of the idea. And Len Deighton is a writer of kind of spy fiction, and he wasn't a name I had ever heard of before this month, but I got very interested in his work, so I did go out and buy the first book of that trilogy the other day. So that was one of the books that had moved to the top of my wish list fairly rapidly, and it wasn't very expensive, so I just went and got that. There are about a handful, half dozen books that are on my wish list, but oftentimes I'll have books on my wish list that will be there for a while, and then I kind of realize, maybe I'm not really all that interested in that book, and I just delete it from my cart, or it drops down quite a ways in the list. So anyway, yeah, I don't really have a substantial wish list, and that sort of dovetails into number 9. Which 3 books from your wish list do you wish to own now? Well, I guess that question is kind of asking, or I'm going to choose to respond to it by saying that, would I like to have them right now so I could read them? Yes. Am I just sort of dying to go out and buy them right now? No. One book I noticed in the bookstore the other day was another spy fiction by someone named Nick Hardaway. He's sort of continuing the John le Carre series of the British spy service and the character George Smiley. I saw that in the store and thought that looked interesting, but I held off on that. Again, I've got another John le Carre book on my wish list. Another book on my wish list I actually borrowed from the library. So there's really not really too many books here on my wish list that are that are real urgent purchases for me. But again, they do sort of serve the purpose of keeping those books alive in my memory, I guess. So if I don't remember, hey, I think there's some books I'm really interested in, I just don't remember what they were. So I've got a list to go to, but by and large, they're not books that I have a real need to go out and buy right now. Number 10, who do I tag? I don't know if that's a general question about who I tag in general, or who do I tag in terms of this video. And I'm fairly new to Booktube, and there are a few Booktubers I've gotten to know a little bit in the comment section, but I don't think I'm going to tag anyone directly. But if you're watching and feel like responding to this video and doing the Bookaholics Anonymous Tag, please consider yourself tagged and put that down in the comments, and I would look forward to watching your video. So until next time, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.